Hello friends, it's Jeff. Welcome back to my videos. Um, I got 6 albums in the mail last week, and I was going to show them to you in the last video, but I did the Third Man set instead because that arrived like a day later. So I'm a little behind in showing you all of my new stuff, but this will catch me up because there's really nothing else in the pipeline right now. Coming off of a pretty sad weekend, actually extending into Monday. I had just gotten home from a funeral on Monday afternoon, and I had just changed my clothes, just sat down to relax for a bit, and I look at my phone and I saw the news that Tom Petty had died. And that was just the cherry on top of a very depressing few days. So I, I picked the album that I had shown a couple of videos ago. I got his first album on vinyl, and I played it, and me and my wife listened to it because she's a big fan of Tom Petty too, and it was great. I'd never listened to his first album all the way through. I only knew the hits like Breakdown and American Girl, but it's actually a really good album from beginning to end. So that's probably gonna wind up in my heavy rotation for a while. I had some Petty albums back in the 80s, but unfortunately it was during the brief period of time where I was buying cassettes instead of records because they were slightly cheaper by $1 or $2, and for a poor kid who's looking to get as much music as he can, any dollar saved was good. So I had Damn the Torpedoes, I had Southern Accents, I had Full Moon Fever, all on cassette. And I don't even own a cassette player anymore. All my cassettes are gone. And boy, do I wish I had those on vinyl instead. But who knows? Maybe I'll come across them someday. But yeah, I was a fairly big fan of Petty, and I listened to his stuff a lot. And between that and hearing him on the radio, I kind of got burned out on him. And I still enjoy his music, no doubt. And it's very sad that he died, but it's just becoming almost a pattern here. It's just like all of the iconic rock stars that I grew up with are just dying off. It's really sad. But anyway, on to something a little more cheery, which is new records. This first one falls under the running theme I've been having of albums that are common, or that I think are common, but I had trouble getting. And this album's been out for 50 years. It came out in '67. I thought it would be fairly easy to acquire on vinyl. I also had this one on cassette too, and I listened to it many, many times. And I never see this in the wild. I never see it in any stores, or I don't remember ever seeing it even at record shows. But after multiple attempts on eBay, I finally landed a copy of Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix. This is not an original copy, obviously. According to the seller, this was a 1986 reissue. Those of you who've never seen the back cover, here you go. Like I said, there's probably millions and millions of copies of this album floating around out there, but it took me forever to track it down. I had the same problem with Electric Ladyland. It took me forever to finally get a copy of that, and Axis Bold as Love. So this is just par for the course. I guess it's just a testament to how popular Jimi Hendrix still is after all these decades of him being gone. All 6 of these albums are from the same seller. All 6 are in mint condition. I didn't have to clean them. I didn't have to do anything to them. I can just play them, which is pretty rare for me and really nice. I also got another Jimi Hendrix album, which this is... Oh, it's coming out of the sleeve. Well, it won't stay in. Okay, I'll just keep my hand here. This is him live at the Isle of Wight Festival. Along with Stevie Ray Vaughan, I find that live albums by Jimi Hendrix are just as good, if not better, than his studio albums. I mean, his studio albums are outstanding, to say the least, but listening to him in a live setting, there's really not much to the back cover here. But listening to him in a live setting is pretty spectacular. So I landed a pair of Jimi Hendrix albums here as the first 2. Up next is an album by a band called Captain Beyond. This is their first album, and it's sort of like a prog. It has prog elements and that early 70s rock sound. Actually, I don't know much off of this album. I have their second album called Sufficiently Breathless, and that's one of my all-time favorite songs ever. So this is just pretty unremarkable back cover. Originally, this picture here came in a like a 3D lens type of thing, but this is a reissue, and obviously it doesn't have that. But looking forward to listening to this one too, because like I say, I listened to Sufficiently Breathless album and I was pretty impressed with it, so I'm expecting this one to sound pretty good too. This next one is I got for my wife, but it's one of those bands that I've kind of gotten to enjoy too. And this is, I think, the 3rd album I think I have that I bought for her that I ended up liking too. It's Echo and the Bunnymen. Heaven Up Here. I don't know a single song off this album, and I don't think my wife does either. I think she had their other records like Ocean Rain and the self-titled one, but I don't think she even had this one. So this is going to be, back cover there, this is going to be another kind of new experience for both of us. But from what I've heard from this band, I enjoy. It's definitely got that mid to late 80s production to it, but from what I've heard, this album came out, when did this album come out? 1981. Never mind, okay. So, yeah, this will be another new frontier. And the last 2 are by probably the greatest guitarist. I call him the greatest guitarist you never heard of, because everybody that I mention this to in real life have no idea who I'm talking about. But I'm not trying to be a snob or anything like that, but for those people who do know, they really love this guy, and I'm one of them. And Rory Gallagher is easily on par with any of the guitar heroes of the 70s. I put him right up there with Clapton, Beck, Page, anybody you want to name. I'd say Rory Gallagher. Jeez, all these records are falling out today. I'd say Rory Gallagher is right up there, if not better in some cases. This album is called Tattoo, and just like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray, any live album by Rory is amazing. I have several live albums of his, and they crank. So this is this Tattoo. This is the first one, and the second album is called Blueprint. The reason you never heard of Rory Gallagher is because he never had a radio hit. I'm sure if he wanted to, he could have easily released some of these songs on almost any of his albums to the radio, and he would have had hits with them, and he would have been, there's the back cover there, he would have been more well known than he is. I mean, there was a documentary on YouTube on Rory called Ghost Blues, but I don't know if it's there anymore. But if you can track it down, it's well worth watching. If you ever want to find a guitarist with the passion and power and skill of a lot of other more famous guitarists, I'd say Rory Gallagher is got to be number one on that list. So yeah, I've got some good listening ahead. And I'm going to cut this video off. We're about 11 minutes, we're almost 11 and a half minutes. And yeah, it's sad about Tom Petty, but his music will live on. He's recorded some absolute classic songs, and people are going to be listening to them for decades to come. So we'll always have his music. And just gotta treasure each and every day like it's your last, I guess. I mean, we're only here for a short time. Okay, I'm not going to get any more philosophical than that, so I'm just going to cut it off here. Thank you for liking, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I'll be back soon.